Let's talk about G2 Gully Masters, the best Toa set that they made in the first wave of G2 sets. We're going to discuss why this set is great, how you can use the pieces that come in this set in your own mocks, and we'll show off a few revamps of this character as well. Let's go. Ever since this set came out, I have consistently been impressed by it. Everything from the awesome color scheme to the incredible mask design, this is fantastic. Giving Gully a trident was such a great call. It fits an underwater character very well, and maybe it's not in line with what she originally had, but it's nice to have something different. I find that posing her with this weapon is just a lot of fun, and the fact that you can also remove the top part of the trident, and then give her actually a smaller trident, that's really cool. And then you can place these axe pieces onto her feet and give her flippers. That is so sick! It's a fun little callback to Gully Nuva, who could also do the same thing with her weapons. And once again, we got something that seems so appropriate for a Toa of water. But if you thought that was cool, well, there's one more thing these weapons can do. These flippers can link together, and then she has a bit of a mermaid tail. I mean, come on, that's so awesome! Once again, perfect for a Toa of water, and honestly, I'm really surprised we've never seen mermaids made with Bionicle. Mate, the fact that this weapon has so many features and play functions, it's incredible. This is truly some magnificent toy design going on. Well done, LEGO. Yeah, look, I think the subtle changes from the typical frame that every single G2 set had, well, they really make her stand out from the rest. Her design feels very feminine. The trans light blue details, they're a great way to convey her elemental powers, and all her incredible play features, they really take her to another level. Gully is easily my favorite of all the Toa in the first wave of G2 sets. And also, her pieces are brilliant. So Gully comes with 4 of these awesome Dark Azure size 5 CCBS shells. Dark Azure is such a beautiful color, and a color that's not really that common to see on Bionicle sets. Now sure, 4 of them isn't really like a huge amount, but there's still heaps you can do with only 4 of these pieces. For example, Sergei Rakamonov has a mock called Commander Trigon that uses these pieces. And check it out, what a stunning combination of lime, white, and dark azure. Oh, that's nice. A striking blue color like that, it's gonna pop on whatever kind of mock or whatever kind of color scheme you make. So cool. Dylan Meaves also uses this piece for a scuba diver character. And I mean, look at that. Black and dark azure, that's the perfect color scheme to give someone who's wearing a scuba diving suit. That's what real ones look like. Plus, I think the texture of those CCBS shell pieces, it kind of mimics the texture of water suits like this. That's a good choice. And finally, Johan Dakish has used this piece on a Takedox revamp. We can see a few of these pieces here resting on the back of this mock. Repeating them in a pattern like this, it really does replicate the look of a shrimp really well. Yeah, which is more or less the inspiration here. And see, Johan's only used like 3 or 4 of this piece for that back design. And how good does it look? It's a little hard to see in this image, but you can still see it's being done. So yeah, getting some of them in this set, they're so good. Gully's Mask of Water is also in Dark Azure, and you could easily work that into your next Dark Azure colored mock. But if you wanted to use this piece in a way that isn't just using it as a mask, do what Joxon has done on these mocks. The first one is called Morgana the Imp, and see how he's flipped this mask upside down and he's using it for her hair? That's so clever. The top of the mask looking like a fringe, genius. And the mask pairs quite nicely with these Dark Azure wings as well. But if you don't want to use it like that, turn it into a jaw design like we see here. Now the spread out shape of these lines, the angles of this mask, it really does mimic the look of a very menacing jaw. And since this dude is meant to be like a frost devil, the jaw even kind of mimics some of the qualities of really sharp ice. You pop some teeth into it, merge it with some other pieces, and you have one of the coolest looking head designs I've ever seen. This rocks. Gully also includes 2 of these silver armor cover pieces. Now we've talked about this piece before, and look, it's pretty easy enough to just put it onto a mock. You just slap it onto some CCBS armor. I mean, it's gonna look pretty similar to how it looks on Gully's shoulders. So let's find some examples that use this piece in a less traditional way. Ivan Martinov uses this piece for a mock called Tomb Wrath. Using it to form pretty much like the whole body of this spider-like creature, that's cool. The pistons and the beams that are in the center of this piece, it gives it a nice machine-like appearance. Yeah, very robotic, very mechanical. It's rad. Otherwise, you can use this piece like Tino Pautanen has done here. See how it neatly shapes the head design on this creature? It frames the top and the sides of the face very nicely. And then those red eyes and the gears for teeth. What a good face. This whole head design rocks, and it's all thanks to this armor cover piece. Heck yeah. Gully's trident has these 2 silver axe blade pieces. Here's a few ways that you could use them. Yanni has built them into this awesome deer mock. And using them as antlers, it's so beautiful. It gives off such a lovely, like, serene look. feels very magical and very mystical. I like it. Or you could use just one of them and build an axe design, much like Patrick Biggs has done here on a mock called Lily. And look at that lovely red hilt. That's just a really good axe design, isn't it? Simplistic, but beautiful. And finally, Gully, like all the G2 Toa, they have this really interesting printed torso design. Now Patrick uses this piece on a mock called Sandra. The yellow, the gunmetal, and the azure coloration of the printing on this piece, it perfectly mirrors the rest of the color scheme of this mock. It's great. And also, it's great to see 2 Gully masks being used upside down for shoulder armor. So sick. And plus, the smaller silver armor piece, this one that we saw before, that's being used on the torso design. I love how that looks. Actually, this entire mock is very elegantly using a lot of those Gully pieces. Okay, so that's some ways that you could use the pieces that come in this set. But what about if you wanted to revamp this character? Well, Kordax has a revamp of Gully, and I really like that this design is just doubling down on the whole mermaid idea. And clever idea to localize a lot of the silver onto the tail design here. Because, you know, most mermaids, that's how they look. The scales on the tail, they're a totally different color to everything else. So, you know, from a color blocking perspective, it just makes sense. And also, nice idea to use some of those silver winged armor pieces that come on Stormer XL. You can see them all along his arm here. But that's a great inclusion to help replicate the fins on a mermaid tail. Oh, and then this sick yellow shoulder pad, as well as a few other like yellow highlights. Magnificent. It feels just so like appropriate to add a little bit more yellow, since, you know, that torso piece that we saw before had a bit of yellow in it. Let's accent that a little bit more. Good idea. Jakku Builds has also built their own version of Gully. Now, this one is a pretty big departure from her original design. The way all these CCBS armor pieces have been placed on here, she looks like she's almost wearing armor, or like this is Gully if she were a Gundam mech. But hey, a different approach, it's always nice to see. I quite like this trident design. A very metallic and sleek hilt that ends in a circle with 2 blades on the side and 1 rising above in the middle. Very stylish. That works on this mock, but I think it could also work on the actual set as well. Plus, it's nice to see more of that azure armor in action. Maybe that'll give you a few more ideas for how you could use those pieces. And finally, Pahaturan has made Gully Spirit of Water, and right off the bat, we see a super rare Bionicle mask being used on the face. Now, from a color perspective, the trans dark blue, it feels a little out of place. But I see this as a nice throwback to the original Gully set, who also had a cool trans dark blue mask, which was unlike any other piece that was on the set. So yeah, that actually feels very fitting here. It's a good inclusion. An expensive, but good inclusion. There's also a lot of great gold highlights all over this mock, like the anklets, the bracelets, as well as some gold wire on her arms and her chest. Don't those gold accents just look lovely? Gold, azure, and dark bluish grey, beautiful. And also check out these sick gold hook pieces. It's good to see a Gully G2 mock that has some hook weapons. They fit her quite nicely. So there you go, that's Gully, that's ways to use her pieces, and that's some ways to build mocks around Gully G2. I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to check the links in the description below and see more from the builders that I featured today, and hopefully some of the things that I showcased today gave you a little bit of inspiration. Thanks for watching guys, happy building, and bye for now.